What's up, everybody? Before we get started, I want to tell you about two things. First of all, coming to San Francisco, and we want you to be there. Second of all, we need your spooky web development stories for our Halloween episode. So October 27th, we're going to be at the Bear Bottle Brewing Company in San Francisco. You're going to want to come and hang out with us. We're going to have merch. We're going to have beer. We're going to have Scott. We're going to have CJ. I'm going to be there, unfortunately. The whole team's going to be there. It's going to be a hoot. So go to syntax.fm/meetup. It's free, but you do have to grab a ticket. So go grab it now. And then also, spooky stories. Do you have a story where you absolutely screwed the pooch? Do you have a story where you deleted a database, where you deployed the wrong website, where you let a domain name expire? Some awful story around building for the web. We want to hear it, and we will read them out on the upcoming spooky story episode. So go to syntax.fm/spooky and submit your questions. We'll keep you anonymous. Don't worry. Nothing to worry there.
Don't worry. Do not worry.
Do not worry. Everything will be okay.
What's up, Wes?
I'm ready to get. We got some really good potluck questions around free tier pricing. Should you be concerned with the $20 a month? We apparently spooked a whole bunch of people. Some questions around like source set and image sizes, image formats. What should I be doing here? What should I do with 5,000 users? It's kind of at an inflection point. Where do you get your wallpapers from, Wes? How is Omarchy doing, Scott? And a whole bunch of questions about web development in general. Ready to get on into it. First question from Sabeskik. I visited the website. It's of all three of you, and I must say I was very disappointed. What? Okay, I didn't put this question in here. Scott's site has huge font sizes. CJ's was alien themed and short. Wes's was better, thank you. At least I could read the text. Okay, so what were you disappointed in my website? Because I spent a shoot load of time on my website. And I'm very proud of it. So the question, why do professional devs have terrible website UIs but create amazing websites for clients? I'm young, 19, started programming my journey, but my parents complain that I'm spending too much time on my PC and my phone. I won't say it's a lie, and I'm working on a project because I want to complete it. I work from home. How can I convince my parents that this is the best of life for me? Okay, two questions here. Scott, why does your website suck so much?
Yeah, let me pop open both of our websites. This is my website, folks. And here's what it looks like right now. And I'll tell you why it looks like this. I was looking at it about a week ago, or a week and a half ago, and I was thinking to myself, man, I'm really tired of the CSS in this site. So I went and I deleted all of the CSS, except for some of it. I got rid of it. I got rid of it, and I kept the base CSS. So this is what my site looks like with just base CSS. Now, can it be better? Yeah. But you know what? I actually like how ugly and big it is. Am I working on it? Yes. So you can even tell I'm working on it because the tags don't have spacing between them. Like the site is functional, but I just ripped out all the CSS. So that's why my website looks bad. But it didn't like 2 weeks ago. I was just bored, and me, when I get bored, I don't really think about it. Wes's site, on the other hand, I am surprised to hear it's better. Wes's site to me is beautiful. I love this.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a big fan of mine. I spent a lot of time on that and on the design, on all the parts of it. So big fan of that. I think it is very common. It's very common that like developers don't even have a website, which is hilarious when you think about it. And if you think about it, like I don't post a ton of content on my own website. Most of it is on social networks and things like that.
Yeah,
it's classic. The cobbler's children have no shoes. You know, we've got so many other things that we are working on, so many other little applications. When it comes time to doing your own website, it's just like, I'd rather build something else that's really exciting, or I'd rather add this feature to the Syntax website. So that's always the case. Although, like, I think if somebody were hiring you, you probably want to make sure you have a decent looking website. In terms of the question about being 19 and your parents spending too much time on your phone, I would just show them. Send them this clip right now. Say, listen, Seisbik's parents, he's doing cool stuff. Have you heard of AI? Have you heard of the internet? It's going to be big. He's probably going to retire you. He's probably going to be super rich and change lives because of the stuff he's doing right now. So let him goof around on the internet.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I got two answers to this too. My website and other professionals' websites. I think, like you said, with the cobbler shoes thing, the peach cobbler's got no pie, whatever you said. For me personally, I think that you just have no time, right? You have no time. And the most amount of time I could muster to say, I don't like this. Let me get it. I mean, because you did your website a little while ago. It's not like you're updating it. Where me, I feel like I'm updating it all the time, but I'm never finishing it. The last time I had a really beautiful website was when I was really hunting for jobs. And that's really when you need to have it. But I'm not necessarily... I don't care if people look at my website right now. Maybe I should, but I don't. Because again, I'm not hunting for work. I'm not using it as a place to show off my skills. I'm using it as a experimentation dumping ground, most likely. So, yeah, that's why. As far as sticking on your phone, you can choose to play this part or not for your parents, but I think you probably should go outside a little bit and do some other stuff too.
Touch grass.
I think you should touch a little bit of grass, and you should pick up a hobby that's not on your phone or your computer as well, because phones and computers are great, but let me just tell you, man, it is tough once you get so locked into just being on all. It's like becomes just such a bad habit to always have it on and always have it around you. So you need some time away from screens.
Man, being 19, that's the best. That might be the best time of your life. Totally. And the stuff you can hit on chicks and all kinds of stuff, man. There's a lot. Don't want to let your parents watch this part, but enjoy your life. There's plenty of time to program.
There's plenty of time to program. Yeah, you could definitely get lost, and I'm sure if that's really, really what you want to do, but touch some grass. Yeah, for sure.
Question for Scott: are those the new AirPod 3s?
They are. Yeah.
Okay. Because I noticed them. Sometimes people wear AirPods funny and they wear them sticking out a lot.
Yeah.
But these are the new ones that they intentionally stick out more, right?
I don't even know if they intentionally do or don't.
No, I
got them because I wear them so much. The battery on my Nothing Ear A's, these are great. They were cheap. They're nice for a lot of reasons. These actually do much better in some situations. I'll tell you what. Apple somehow cannot figure out how to have noise-canceling headphones and to let you lay down on a pillow with headphones in.
Yeah, I have that problem.
These things have noise-canceling, and people say, you got to have it for the noise-canceling microphone. You don't. These things, noise-canceling, not as good, but noise-canceling. I could lay down with these things on. How have they not figured that out? Does anybody wear them at Apple? Anybody wearing these things and laying down? How's that? There's this big, obnoxious whine noise.
Actually bought a pair of the Nothing ones. I found a really good deal on them online, and it was a really good deal because the battery of one of them was totally shot. And then I went searching for, did you know the batteries in these headphones they're just little coin cells, and they're fairly replaceable in many of the cases. Yeah, AirPods are maybe a different story, but I went to go buy a new battery just to solder it in, and it turned out it was cheaper to buy literally a handful of. Can I make this focus on the camera here? So I bought 20 Nothing Ear AirPods instead from a Chinese website. So they're brand new, but they have little markings on them that looks like they're from the Nothing, the manufacturer before they were ready for. They have A, B, C on them. So some of them are C grade, and then some of them are just test runs. So I'm pretty sure somebody took these out of some recycling and then put them for sale on the internet. So now I have 20 Nothing earpods, and then I just went through, and they were $1 a pair, or $1 per earbud. So I just went through and picked up a pair that was good, and they're great. I just wore them this morning since 9 a.m. So they went, I don't know, maybe eight hours with noise canceling on.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
I have such a problem with earbuds that I lose them like crazy. I have 4 pairs of AirPods. That's why I bought these, because I just keep spending. AirPods are expensive.
I lose them. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
keep
Last
losing
time I
them.
had AirPods, I had the AirPod Pro 2. When I got my concussion in February, I got
Oh yeah, you
whiplash. And my
lost them.
AirPods, who knows where the hell they went. That's the second pair of AirPods I've lost snowboarding. The other one I was trying to do a 540 and they flew out of my pocket and never to be seen again. I didn't fall. I even landed. I just
Yeah.
flew out of my gosh darn pocket. It's a terrible idea. All right. Next question from Matt. Since you guys are a Canadian podcast, is there any way to get stuff shipped from Canada? A Canadian-based store would definitely help with the currency, shipping duties, and border logistics. So, Wes, this has been a problem no matter what.
Honestly,
Shipping, man. Shipping sucks.
logistics, like worldwide logistics, before all the like crazy tariff stuff in the States, is a very hard problem to solve. And then that added with the fact that Americans think that everything should be free shipping, which is like is nuts, you know? Like that's the biggest complaints we hear is like shipping is brutal. It's like we're losing money on this stuff, you know? We're just selling it for as cheap as we can. I often have fights with the team to lower the prices on everything. And it's a hard thing. And especially you just ship it to Canada, it unfortunately is hard. And the solution to that is, yeah, you have another warehouse in another country. But then you have these like weird logistics where you've got t-shirts in 3 different locations and one of them is sold out. So you have to ship it from another one. And just like, it's a very hard problem to solve. And it gives me a lot more appreciation for the Amazon logistics. So you can get stuff shipped to Canada. It will cost a couple bucks to ship it, but it's the best stuff. It's all good quality. It's awesome stuff.
That's the problem, because the alternative to that is you do a pick, pack, and print, pack, and ship or whatever, where what they do is they grab a t-shirt off the rack or like a mug on the rack and they do like a quick print on it and like toss it out. It's junk. It's all junk. So we don't want to
yeah,
do
the
that.
print on, that's the thing is like people are like, well, this open source project has a store with 80 items in it and you can get 40 phone cases and whatever. And that's great because it allows anybody to start up a thing, but the quality sucks. Like it's not good. This print on demand stuff, it looks good and it's not good for the world and it doesn't feel good to wear, to just be constantly going through. Like I have t-shirts that you have for like 6 months and then they're just like, you donate them, but like donating it is not the move, you know? That's going to end up in a landfill somewhere.
Yeah, word.
Question for Scott. How are things with Omarchy?
It's on this computer right here.
He put it on the ground.
It is. If you're watching on video, you may have astute observers may have noticed I did pick it up off the ground. But Wes, that's just because that was the most convenient place for my charging cable to go. I still really like the operating system. I still really like the laptop. The problem is my hardware is junk. So that like System 76 laptop.
So you don't like the laptop?
Yeah, I don't like the.
I like the laptop.
I like the experience on the laptop. I like using it. I'll say that. But the trackpad is terrible. Even using with the mouse, the keyboard's bad. But like monitor, that's a problem with Omarchy, is that the dual monitor support sucks on it. Like it exists, but like putting things on a specific monitor sucks. So like just having it as my workstation computer, it's not viable. That computer's not powerful enough. The battery lasts a long time. It's super fast. It feels really great. And there's a lot of things I like about the OS that I get really annoyed with on Mac OS these days, with how once you use that and come back to Mac, there's an inherent latency on every single keystroke on this Mac computer that is hard to like psychologically get past. Yes.
Is it from Bluetooth? No, like it's like the physical keyboard on the laptop. You can tell that there's latency.
Yeah, I don't use a Bluetooth keyboard. I'm typing on my laptop.
Really?
Right here, yes, right here. And it's a latency in the entire OS. And it's not just typing. Things are just doing stuff all the time. There's so much bloat and junk on it. And the system isn't optimized. But that comes at a penalty of Omarchy missing things like really good dual monitor support, or just there are some times when you're like, you can feel the fact that this is like not a mature operating system like Mac OS. If I could have my way, I would have the perfect hybrid of something that was as responsive as Omarchy, as pared down, but with the niceties and the attention to detail of many things on Mac OS. I want something in between there as a full time. What I did go ahead and do is I did set this computer to be as similar to Omarchy as possible in terms of I got all the CLI tools. I saved a bunch of stuff as web apps instead of just using as Chrome tabs. So I've really replicated my user experience in Omarchy a lot. I'm using the same kind of CLI tools that I was using on that. The only thing is I have stopped using NeoVim because, man, my hands cramping up. I'm like trying to memorize stuff at the same time. And like it's fine. I have found myself to be much better at NeoVim after spending like 2 or 3 weeks using only that. But at the same time, I like VS Code, man. I like it. So it's cool. I like it. If I had a better OS, if I had a better laptop or something, I might like it a lot more. But I don't really see myself moving away from Apple hardware anytime soon after doing a bunch of research in there. Especially because I'm looking at, like, for my next computer, maybe getting a Mac Studio to run local LLMs or to do some video editing and stuff. You kind of need that power.
Chrome tabs. Yeah.
Chrome tabs. Although I am using a new browser, Wes, in between recording the last episode, which was just a couple hours ago, and recording this episode, I have once again switched my primary browser. I am using Helium as the default browser right now.
Who makes that?
That's a great question. Helium makes it. Helium.computer. It's like a pared down version of Chrome with privacy defaults. It's, very much like ad blocking stuff by defaults. It's low kind of on the features, but it's Chrome. The UI is nice and minimal. So yeah, pretty nice. Yeah. And people who say use Zen, I ain't never using a Firefox main. I'm sorry.
Man, I opened Firefox the other day and I was like, I missed this. Just the UI of it is so good. The DevTools UI is so good.
Yeah, DevTools UI slaps
nice and
for sure.
Fast. I really miss the Firefox DevTools and like the Firefox UI. They also they're putting in a bunch of like AI features as well. I saw my wife uses Firefox and I glanced at it the other day and I saw she's got some features. So maybe I need to give it another shot back. Like there's the thing that killed me and I switched is just like the feature lag. You're making podcasts about these new features and you can't use your main driver to test them out.
Yeah, I was looking at anchor positioning the other day and I was getting frustrated at the Firefox support for it.
It shipped in Safari, and which means like now we're just waiting on Firefox. It's behind a flag in Firefox. I did dip into it and there seems like in the last couple of weeks there's been some movement on it and does seem like it's almost there, but I don't know. I've been on that. It's almost there train for a while.
Anchor positioning really solves a billion problems.
So excited for it. Yeah.
Oh, come on. I'm using the polyfill right now and I just wish I didn't have to. Okay, next question here from Omar. Hey, Wes, Scott, love the show. Been listening since day one. How do you handle it when a customer's account gets hacked? What steps do you take in order to secure it and clean it up? And what best practices would you recommend for developers running their own apps where users can get compromised even if it's not the app's fault? So ultimately, what Omar is referring to here is, let's say the user account got hacked because insecure password. Their password might have been in a data breach and somebody was able to get into that. How do you handle that? Yeah, that's a tough one because hopefully you're doing data backups and stuff like this, but it depends on the scale, right? If this is like a boutique kind of niche app that you have a certain amount of users that you want to keep very happy, then like maybe you can paw through database backups and try to restore that information. But if it's like a giant app, I don't know, that feels like a tough problem to solve other than like I would imagine you'd probably want some like data versioning. You could roll back individual users' data versions, but that feels like a problem to solve for a scale that is not like a boutique kind of app.
I see this a lot, and specifically where we see it in Canada is with our biggest grocery store chain. It's called Loblaws, and they have like a points program, right? And that's just like anytime you have gift cards or points, you attract the worst people on earth that try to abuse it and game it and whatnot. And at one point, this is probably 6 or 7 years ago, I had my points thing hacked. Probably because I signed up like 15 years ago, reused the same password.
Oh man!
And they drained like $150 worth of points out of the thing. And I eventually got it back. But I've heard so many horror stories over the years, and it's just like, well, it's not really their problem that you got hacked because you have bad hygiene, but it also entirely is their problem because now that hacker went and cashed out the points, and now they got to give you $150 worth of points back. So they're out that much. So you really got to like just take care of your users. Your users are babies, and you have to like the easiest way to do it is just sign in with Gmail or sign in with Apple or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you take all of the burden off of you onto the security of their email platform. You can obviously throw in two-factor authentication, text message. As much as people hate the like send a text with a code, that will add a huge layer of security to your app.
Yeah, preventative seems like the right way to go here.
You got to go ahead. What happens if after the fact? Yeah, you got to piece it. Hopefully you have some sort of audit trail as to what happened. When did they sign in, and what did they change it from and to? You know, like for me, I have people can like merge accounts.
Yeah.
So like if somebody like logs in and say, "Hey, my course is gone. I used to have it," and then I can like look at the audit trail and be like, "Hey, you actually merged it with a different email address," and like, "Oh, okay." But like, it also could be that somebody hacked their account and merged it with their own, so you can look back at it. Mitch K says, "I work at a FANG company, and we have very different opinions on whether you should put LLM context files." So that's like cursor rules, VS Code rules, documentation, and other assorted prompts and LLM generated docs into version control. I personally feel that we should, but many do not since it is not code. What are your thoughts on this?
Yes, put it in version control. Yes. You have a bunch of people working on the same project. If they're all using the same LLMs, you want people to be working off the same source material in terms of those types of things. Now, there's other alternatives to this. You could have your own set of tools to go get those things, and that's like an API that could go get those set of tools. I personally have no problem committing like any of the agent files or any of those types of instruction files. I personally am moving more away from that style, though, because the more stuff you put into that is the more kind of global context your LLM is going to use. And the more you're filling up that global context, the less room you have for other things. In fact, you can go onto Claude Code, you can do /context, and it shows you a little diagram of where the context is being taken up. And if you have too many instruction files, you'll see that there's much less room for other types of context. So other alternatives for this types of things, you could have specialized agents that have some of that knowledge pre-baked into them based on what they're working on specifically. Like instead of having a Svelte instructions file that's used and picked up on every single query, you could have a Svelte agent that has information attached to that specific agent. Then therefore, it's not being used if that agent isn't in play. You could also do an MCP server. When we had Kyle Seasmith on from Coinbase, they talked a lot about their internal tooling that they used. What was it? They used LangGraph or something like Mastra to build up your own kind of internal tooling for MCP to grab the data from your own knowledge base. That's a possibility too. Me personally, though, if it's a simple instructions file, like don't you ever put background color on something unless I told you to. I will put that in instructions and be fine with that. Yeah. And commit that all day.
Yeah, I think it's fine if it's similar to like a settings file. Like we're putting our ESLint, our tsconfig, our prettier RC, we're putting all those files in our version control. So if it has something to do with how the LLM generates the code in terms of style, in terms of if it's creating new folders, if you're using camel case, all of that, I think that certainly belongs in your Git repo. But like Scott said, like docs and like larger things, it almost starts to get out of hand because you're like, oh, well, I have these cursor rules for my front end and then these other ones for the back end, but it only should apply to this. And then before you know it, you're writing all these weird rules, and it's much easier just to say, hey, agent, go pull the docs on I'm writing a Python server. Go look at the rules that we have for writing a Python server, and it will pull them down. So Cursor just rolled out this thing called team rules, which is kind of cool. So you can share them amongst your team. I don't know if that's better or not then, because it's generally a project by project basis. I think putting them in like an MCP is probably your best bet, because then you can at least on demand want them, and then you can share them amongst multiple projects should you want to.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's levels to this. That's for sure. Depends on what's working for you. Next question from Reg. Hi, guys. For the past year, a friend and I have been working on a side project in our spare time. This has meant a lot of late nights and weekends in front of the computer programming away at the app. Recently, we've started getting traction, ticking over 5,000 users and getting commercial interest. Reg. Yeah, nice. 5,000 users. Cool. My wife, however, doesn't see that. Instead, she's tired of a husband being hidden away in his office every night and weekend working, which I can appreciate because I've felt that too. Given that you both have successful businesses and, at least from the outside, maintain happy families, how do you manage to find that balance? Help loved ones understand and while still building things without sacrificing other aspects of life. Tough question, because I found myself in a situation where I am working too many nights, too many weekends, and getting the same feedback. And guess what? That feedback, incredibly important and incredibly valid, because computer stuff is great. Career is great. Push it, grind hard. But at the same time, you got to know when to not, because you cannot sacrifice the things in life that are really important. Your family, your partner, any of that stuff, real life, you cannot sacrifice that stuff to build an app. 5,000 users is great. If you got 5,000 users in here, yeah, I'm not going to say that like additional nights and weekends wouldn't help, but you got to weigh that. I personally think at this point, turn it back, man. You've gotten to a successful part here. I think there is a time and a place to just completely shut your computer and come up with an agreement. Talk to your wife and see like, all right, if I was to work a couple extra nights a week, like, what does that look like? And when does that become a problem? For me, because I still pull out my laptop a couple nights a week here and there, cranking on some stuff, vibe coding on some stuff, doing some other stuff. Sometimes I'm, working on nights and weekends a little bit here too. But you have to understand that there's a delicate balance there. And if you are causing some waves there, shut that laptop. Not worth it.
Yeah, it's certainly not. You're not going to be remembering. Like, it's hard because like you're not going to remember this in 50 years when you're dead, but you also might. Like, it might make you $1 million and then absolutely change your entire family's trajectory, right? And so I think that having an understanding with your partner of being like, I am doing this and this is a temporary thing. Maybe put like a time limit on it. I need to grind for the next 6 months on this thing, just because I think that it can take off. I think I could build something really cool here. And like, lucky for me, my wife understands. I'm pretty cut and dry, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, but there's things that pop up, probably the one for me is like, my wife is very okay with me going to conferences, because that is part of my job.
Yeah.
It's hard. We have 4 kids and I hate leaving her, and it's really taxing on her, and for me to just go drink beer with a bunch of wahoos. But then like she understands, like it's good for me, it's good for my career. It's really fun, and it's all around good. So just that give and take understanding.
You should be working harder during your 9 to 5 if you have to work that many nights and weekends.
Yeah. Good point. Like there's got to be something else that can give, there's always. Sometimes I think like, man, I'm so busy. And then my phone is like, you spent 67 minutes on TikTok today. It's like, that I probably could have done a little less than that.
Oh, yeah. You got Australia in there for a minute,
Oh,
mate.
yeah, mate.
Oh, yeah.
Question from Diabetic Codes. This one is interesting because he also DM'd me with a little bit more sauce on Instagram. I thought this was really interesting. So he says, I know somebody in the supplement space who put a Jot form together that ended up getting reported and shut down. And he asked me to make him a website. So the story here is that this guy is selling some peptides. I'm pretty sure it's Ozempic. He didn't say, but I'm pretty sure this guy is selling something on the internet that is in a legally gray area. And he got shut down because they're using these platforms, and if these platforms deem you as that is not allowed on our platform, they will just shut you down and you'll be out of business. So the question he had is like what do I use? So I'm gonna build something from scratch. I don't want to use I'm gonna use no external services that can come and get me and come and shut me down, but then at the end of the day, you still have to host it somewhere, right? So he asked, what should I use? So I talked to him you can go for a WordPress self-hosted, or if you want to use a Payload or a Strappy, something like that, just host it all yourself and build it full stack. But then the more interesting question is where do you go to host things on the internet when you're doing legally dubious stuff? And I don't know that I'm in that space, or I'll tell you, I'm not in that space. Yeah. But I think first step is throw a Cloudflare in front of your entire website, and what that will do is it will at least stop people from being able to understand where your website is hosted. Whether Cloudflare will take you down or not is another question. But from what I've seen, they let a lot of stuff slide in most cases. There's a lot of piracy and stuff hosted on Cloudflare. So if you put Cloudflare in front of it, then they're not able to tell who you're hosting with, at least not very easily. And then who should you host it with? I would probably be more interested in having a cutover strategy rather than trying to pick a host that won't shut you down. So have something mirrored to another host so that if you do get shut down, you can just point your domain to another one at one point. And then whether the domain will be seized or not is another one. But I think that's probably a good idea. Find something like a Hetzner, DigitalOcean. There are lots of ISPs that are not as well known that are very well known for, I have a whole list of bad ASNs that I completely block any request from on all of my websites. And these are all just bad ISPs that let spammers and scammers send requests, and if I'm getting any request from an ISP in Russia that is clearly a data center, they're probably not doing anything good, unless someone's using a VPN or whatever. But in my experience, I've had zero issues with that over probably 7 or 8 years.
Cool. I got no clue on this, so I'm glad you had that.
I'm not a bad guy, but I do love understanding the seedy underworld of things. Yeah, I don't do bad stuff, but I do like understanding how these things work. I'm curious, actually. I'm going to put this out there. If anybody is listening knows anyone that runs a spam operation, you have a bunch of Twitter bots or something, I want to talk to you. I think that would be an interesting episode.
I actually do think that would be an interesting episode as well. Next question, Mark L. Mark L says, hi, I've been a jack of all trades web dev for 25 years now, mainly backend, but I've never been fully comfortable dealing with images. I've sent designs, and at some point the inevitable question of how do you want the images comes up. I still don't know the correct answer. For example, if you upload an image to WordPress, it generates multiple versions of that image in various sizes. Is that the right approach? How do you decide whether an image should be a JPEG, PNG, GIF, GIF? I say GIF. Sorry, folks. Do we still even use GIFs? What size should I ask for? Say a hero banner background image. Is it generally true that bigger is better? So it can be scaled down to required sizes. Should I be asking for different sizes of the same image for desktop, tablet, or more? You get the idea. Basically, what are the best practices in dealing with images? Let me just say, there's answers for all of these questions that could be done with paying for Cloudinary. Bingo bango, you pay for Cloudinary, you put a URL in front of it, you say it format auto, size auto, all that stuff. You don't think about it ever again. You upload it with their API, it's there, you get the ID from it, throw that in your database, whatever it may be, that URL path. Use Cloudinary. The cost can get up there in terms of how much traffic you're getting, but so many times I personally just decided that using Cloudinary was the easier solution for me, and therefore I went with that. I recently dove into building an image hosting and video compression service for myself using Cloudflare. Cloudflare has an images transform feature now that's really good. So you could very easily even get AI to do this for you if you want. You take a bucket anywhere, R2, S3, any of that stuff. You take a bucket, you take a Cloudflare worker, you send the image to the worker, it puts it in the bucket, you get a path back, you can use that path, you then use Cloudflare's image transformation pipeline. Done deal if you want to host it yourself and own all that stuff, not play for Cloudinary.
I think my advice here is don't try and do it yourself. Grab the highest quality originals that you can. Like, don't tell your designer, hey, give me a 800 pixel version and a 600 pixel version. That's never going to work. And when you need to update something, you got to be like, oh, now I need to resize it. So part of your image pipeline is simply going to be throwing the image in there. And then your image pipeline is going to generate multiple sizes of it and output an image with like a source set. And then what that will do is it will, for larger displays, you get a higher resolution. For smaller displays, you get a smaller resolution on it. Same with like the formatting as well. I generally just stick JPEGs as source material in all of my sites. And then I personally use Cloudflare images as well. And then I let them just figure out what format to serve up. So it's like going to be a WebP for the images, but I hate having WebPs in my like folders just because like it doesn't work with half the stuff out there, you know. So have that generated, and an added benefit of having a pipeline for your images is that you can also figure out what the width and height, the dimensions of those images are. And then when you're embedding them into your content, you can explicitly put a width, a height, or an aspect ratio on them. And then you don't get that cumulative layout shift where like your content will shift down once an image has loaded, because it will just like, it'll blur in or download as it wants. But the spot that image takes is, so having a whole image pipeline is well worth your time. And I personally use Cloudflare images. Another little trick you can do, and they probably don't like this, but I wrote a Cloudflare worker that sits in front of Cloudinary. So you can use Cloudinary to transform your images, but then you can use a Cloudflare cache API just to sit in front of it and cache those. So you don't have to keep paying for the bandwidth or the transformations on Cloudinary. There's too many things called clouds. My brain is...
Cloud, yeah. And we should say that the reason why you do this, so there's two major approaches to, well, I guess there's three major approaches. You just put the image in your folder, you load it up, you know, public folder anywhere on the app, the static folder, whatever, you just load that image. Then you have the pipeline one that Wes is talking about, where you take your images, you create all the versions of those images of different sizes and quality, and then you use things like source set to be able to serve the correct one. Or then there's the third option, which is Cloudinary style, where when the user requests an image, it knows what their browser can support, what format is going to be the smallest. It's going to create that image on the fly. It's going to send them the perfect image for them and then cache that on their end. So the next user that needs that same version gets that same version. To me, that feels like the most modern solution.
I'm just looking at my bill from Cloudflare, and I was curious since I moved my website over to Cloudflare, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, and I was curious what the bill was for just the images alone, and it is, I have 14,947 images above the 5,000 free. So I have about 20,000 images, I guess, on my website. And that was $7.50. And the storage of those was $5 because I think you have to pay for $5 a month for the images included. So $13 a month for 20,000 images. It's not 20, it's probably closer to like 5,000 images and 4 versions of each of those.
Right.
But that's kind of, I wouldn't say that's dirt cheap, but it's also
very reasonable.
Not $100 a month. Yeah, it's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, word.
Man, I should do an update on what my entire website costs.
Mine costs nothing.
What do you have it hosted?
It's a Cloudflare Pages.
Oh, don't have traffic, don't have problems.
Don't have images. How about that? Don't have images, don't have problems. How about that?
My last Cloudflare bill was $27, and 12 of that was images. And I bet 2 of that was browser rendering, so rendering my Open Graph images. Oh, page rules, $5. So I have a couple extra rules I've added. I could probably get rid of those and move that into a worker. I'm trying to find where the actual compute was. 14 cents. 6,025,927, I guess, instances, milliseconds, and it cost me 14 cents.
Yeah.
So
meanwhile,
to host my website is 14
trying
cents.
to host a website on AWS cost me a ton of money. Man, I cannot believe how expensive AWS stuff is.
AWS, and especially on with bandwidth is expensive. So also check out Bunny. This is one thing I don't hear a lot of people talking about. Bunny.net. Bunny.net is they started as like a CDN, so you can host videos and images with them. But now they're in like the database world. They have like kind of a Cloudflare worker competitor.
Yeah. Last time I checked, I didn't see if I think you couldn't host like SvelteKit on Bunny.
Oh yeah, it was more like edge compute, like only server side. But they probably they have a CDN, and they have containers now too. I don't know why you don't hear a lot of people talk about them. It's kind of like that weird one. Maybe that's just like they don't put any money into like DevRel or people in the community.
There's nothing about like really hosting front end stuff on here. It's really why. It's storage, stream, CDN, but like you won't find a lot of references to a lot of the stuff that we deal in. Yeah,
that's true. Question from Wallpaper McBoring. Wes, I've always loved the vibe of your desktop wallpapers in your videos. Where can I find them? Specifically the recent Skeleton Boy one. Yeah, whenever I do like a hot tip or whatever, I try to generate a new wallpaper for each of them.
Really?
Just to put behind the video, because I think it looks nice, and I think it's a bit of a scroll stopper sometimes when you see an interesting one. So for the longest time, I was just using the Raycast wallpapers, actually, because they have really nice gradients. But then when Midjourney rolled out their tiling option, I went nuts on it because I love a wallpaper. So I wrote a tool that would take a Midjourney tile. So you can tell Midjourney like, hey, make me a wallpaper that is X, Y, and Z. And then it'll kick out just like a little tile for you. And if you use the -- tile flag, it will make sure that you can infinitely tile it. And then I wrote a little app that you just drag the image into it, and then you can scale it up or down. And then you hit a button and it'll download that wallpaper as like a larger JPEG. So I have a whole folder of them. I'm pretty sure I have it open sourced. If not, send me a DM and I'll make sure I open source it, because it's kind of a fun little tool. And I love tools like that where You just solve your problems with it.
Last question here from Patrick MacDonald. On one of your shows, I heard you say that beware of the free tier, and often once you go off the free tier, the pricing goes off a cliff. LOL. I love reading things like that, like LOL.
LOL.
Yes. Does that mean that we can't trust services that have a generous free tier and only a $20 pro tier? Or is the pro tier just a hook to open up for more billing? Your comments worried me as a developer whose stack is in the Vercel marketplace. Yeah, I think some of this is like beware of the too good to be true free tier. Like, we'll host your whole database for free. Don't even worry about it, bro. We got you. You want to host your whole database? Don't worry about it. Like, to me, that's where you got to be prepared. Any of these things that does have a generous free tier, the moment you start getting real traffic, real bandwidth, real data coming through, yeah, your prices are going to go up. So that is the thing about Vercel that you do have to worry about. Do I have to worry about it? I've never built anything that I've had to worry about it with.
We get free Vercel. So if you ever questioned our loyalty to any company, let you know that Vercel gives us free hosting.
And I still make my thoughts be known about Next.js without concern. Check out serverlesshorrors.com as a site that shows, it looks like the last post for this is May 2025. Maybe these horrors have stopped. But I thought this was an interesting image where they talk about various free platforms that then end up turning into big bills. I don't think this is a hard and fast rule, but like it is something you gotta have an understanding of what that would actually look like if you get a ton of traffic, or if you need to then build your whole business on this thing. And is the bottom line going to cut it? Are you going to have enough money to pay for it?
I always caution people about and this is not Vercel only. This is every single business out there that is trying to charge you per seat per month, and it's because they want to get that enterprise customer where what the hell, we'll add 6 more people on at $30 a month. Like that is gravy rather than like your developer with their $20 bill. And they're not making a ton of money. And in fact, I bet Vercel loses money on some of these, especially because like often you hear stories about like people who get DDoSed or attacked and the bill goes up and Vercel will just like forgive it. Like they're still paying that bill at the end of the day. That bandwidth was still used. They can't put that back in the bottle. So I'm sure they've eaten quite a bit just for like community goodwill in that regard. And also like pricing is so hard because I was just, my eyes were crossed trying to look at my Cloudflare bill. I was just saying, how much did I spend this month on it? And it took me like 5 minutes to do it. So, and you see
you
it
need
with
a degree to do AWS pricing. It is insane.
Pay based on usage is great until it's very hard to understand usage. There's bandwidth, there's transfer between peering partners that maybe is or isn't charged. There's like milliseconds on CPU. So if your serverless is running for 10 seconds, but you're only actually running CPU for like 30 seconds of that or 30 milliseconds of that, then what do you get paid on? And it is so hard to estimate how much things will cost. And that's why people just do $20 a month. And you see it with like Cloud Code and all these AI right now as well, where initially everyone's like, $20 a month, go nuts. You can just use whatever you want. And then like this stuff costs real money at the end of the day. And there's a delicate balance, which is for every company, very hard to figure out, especially when you're trying to make a lot more money on those high-end enterprise customers. Don't be afraid. You can always move your stuff if it starts to cost too much. I just moved my stuff off of Vimeo into Mux because like Vimeo just started screwing me. Like it was initially it was $200 and then they're like, hey, you're actually enterprise, so you're not allowed to do what you're doing, which is streaming course videos. So then it costs like $5,000, and then a couple of years later they just doubled their prices and they're adding all these like shitty AI features on top of the product when all I care about is bandwidth at the end of the day. And I got my renewal email from them and I was like, yeah, I'm moving to Mux. And like, they didn't email me back for 2 weeks after I had asked a question about what it was. Like, they're like, you're dead to us. No longer.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's so funny. I do like, it's one of the reasons why I think that $5 a month VPS is such a enticing thing, because like you're buying what you pay for, and that's what it is. There's no pay by usage. That's predictable, and there's something very great about that. So,
the other question is people, you always hear both sides of it, is when a website goes nuts, and should the website be shut down or should you pay more? It depends, like, did Taylor Swift just tweet about your cool syntax t-shirt and we want to sell a bazillion of them? Fire up more servers. We got to handle all the load. Or like, are you getting DDoSed and you're in trouble, or are you on top of Hacker News and people are using your little app that you built and you didn't expect it to run up a $3,000 bill. It's a hard problem. And there's safeguards inside of all of these hosts as well.
Yes, for sure.
One more question I forgot to ask you, Scott, from a couple questions ago.
Yes.
The question was, do we even still use GIFs? When's the last time you've used a GIF?
For what?
For anything. Like, not like a GIF, like a meme, like an auto playing, because most GIFs these days are just looping video that is muted.
I use GIFs for my little stream deck, but on a website, in my talks, I use little ones. But again, they're all just memes or whatever. I'm putting in breakdancing clips into my tech talks and stuff like that. But on actual web projects, I'm not using GIFs for anything. I almost never did anyways. Back in the day, it was like a way to get transparency and stuff. But it's been a long time since I used GIFs for anything other than just looping videos. Yeah,
because if you want animation, you use like a video. Like I haven't used a GIF in like a conference talk for a long time. I just use muted looping video, and that way you can pause the video when you slide off the slide. And like animated GIFs the quality was always so terrible, and the file size got so big. Yeah.
So I know we have such better formats now, folks. Apple, come on. I got nothing but anger for how Apple handles formats. Like, boo.
Yeah. But I'm also glad that people are like investigating and finding new formats, but like, figure it out. My ScreenFlow crashed the other day when I drag and dropped a hike into it, or like none of the Apple apps allow you to use an SVG. And it's just like, folks, can we figure this out?
Folks, come on, folks.
All right.
Yeah, folks. All right, well, let's get into sick picks. I'm going to sick pick something. Wes, did you know that there are actually modern quick look plugins? Quick look is for the thing on macOS, when you hit spacebar and Finder, it pops open the thing. Quick look is that. And man, there's a whole bunch of formerly ones of these. And one of my biggest beefs with this was always MKV. Man, MKV is a valid format. macOS, what are you doing? Support MKV. What are you doing? So MKV, you'd hit spacebar and it would just pop open with a photo of, VLC or something. Either way, I have for you a very valid, very working, and wonderful Quick Look plugin for MKV. It is called MKV Quick Look. Imagine that. And it's super easy to install. Took 1 second, worked first try, and man, if you've been feeling this pain, you got this. So easy, loved it.
When you posted that, I immediately was like, oh, I have that one. And like, I have the one that just gives you thumbnails. It gives you several thumbnails. And I was like, that sucks. I want to just hit space. And the benefit to using MKV is that if we're using like OBS to record an MKV and OBS crashes, you don't lose that whole file. It's like an additive process. That's why you want to use MKV. But it sucks because you can't just hit space. And then you also can't just drag them into any app. Can we all get along?
All get along?
Yeah.
Come on.
That
tweet got no love, by the way. I tweeted that.
Really?
Maybe it's because I don't pay for Twitter, but that got no love.
Can I post it and see if it pops?
Only if you mention, only if it does pop, you can do a little. By the way, Scott told me about this. Need my credit.
All right, I got a sick pick for you. This is for all of our sauce enjoyers. We've sick picked quite a bit of the Bakken sauces over the years. We don't have the Momofuku ones in Canada in very often. I've seen them every now and then at like specialty shops, but I was in the States a couple weeks ago and I grabbed the sweet and savory Korean barbecue sauce from Momofuku. Grabbed it at Target. Man, that is good. And it's like, my kids love it. Part of the problem with like stuff with my kids is it's often spicy, and like I'm trying to get their spice tolerance up, but this one is not spicy at all, and they absolutely love it as well. So check that one out.
Yeah, man, now Bakken's, my daughter, like, is officially putting it on literally everything. She's got rice, she's pouring it on, like, she puts it on everything. Dad, we're having chicken nuggets. Can I get the octopus sauce? Like, absolutely.
The octopus sauce.
Landon won't touch it, but Brooklyn loves it.
Oh man, it's so good. What's the black? I saw they have black versions now.
I don't know. They got pineapple at Costco. They got all kinds of stuff. I took a selfie by wearing my Bakken shirt at Costco next to the big display. Super fan.
You know, that's awesome. You know how Koreans have like a kimchi fridge? Because they have so much kimchi. Yeah. I need like a condiments fridge because it's just, it drives me nuts. I open our fridge and there's no room for food. It's all sauces, hot sauce and garlic sauces and Bakken sauce. And it's so annoying because there's no room in our fridge for anything else. Shameless plug. Let me tell you about Sentry. This is also an ad, by the way. You're going to want to check out Sentry for your projects, which will help you, like we used to say, it help you fix your errors, but it does literally everything. You know, there's all these AI agents that you can hook it up in your GitHub, and it will find bugs in your code base. And one little feature that I use Sentry for, I was just talking about my own website, moving over all of the images. One thing I was kind of worried about was like, if anyone's like hot linking these images or like, you know, Google search results, I want to keep the paths the same. So what I ended up doing was when I deployed it, I kept my eye very closely on any 404s, both for images and for like URLs that are maybe broken. And I just temporarily switched my site over for a couple hours, and then I switched it back. And I got a whole Sentry dashboard full of potential issues. And it was great because it was just like, there's my day. This is my to-do list of things to do, you know? These things are 404ing. This thing broke on an old iOS device. All of the bugs just popped up, and I was able to just bang, 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 fix them up myself. So check it out, sentry.io/syntax. Use the coupon code TastyTreat for 2 months for free.
Sick. Great chatting with you today, Wes.
Beautiful. See ya.